Hello, welcome to my Fiberchats. And today I have as a guest Keren Osapir from Ogfra Knitting. And Keren is a brilliant designer from Kenya. And she first caught my eye on Instagram where I saw her pictures, and those pictures you see them and you immediately have to like learn more about the person. So I convinced Keren to participate in my Fiberchats, and I'm so glad you could join, and welcome.
Oh, thank you so much.
So we've talked a little bit before, and you mentioned that you started crocheting first, right? Like when you were very young. How did that happen?
Okay, so basically I used to see my mom crochet, but then she got very busy with her job. She was a high school teacher, but now she's retired.
Right.
So she used to do the crochet, but she had a lot of work in school. So she taught our house help how to crochet, and our house helped continue doing the part that my mom used to do. So I was so interested in like, what is this? And she used to treat it so sacredly, like no one would touch the yarn, no one would touch the hooks. So I got so curious, super curious, and I used to like ask her to just let me do it in a bit. So finally she allowed me to, touch the yarn, and she gave me a piece of yarn, and she gave me the hook when she was doing housework. And that's basically how I started crochet, because I used to watch her do it, and I didn't really need someone to teach me, so I just tried out, messed up, repeated, and that's how it started.
So did she ever actually, like later, like after you first started, did she actually showed you the double crochet, the single crochet, or you just figured it out from the air from just watching her?
Oh, I actually just figured it out. I'm sure even I don't think she knew the terminologies
Okay.
that are involved in crochet. And basically, personally, I also didn't know what I was doing. I just knew the terminologies in layman's language. For example, I'd say a chain is a rope or a string. Instead of calling it a chain, I'd call it a string.
Right.
So I got to understand the patterns and the what single crochet, double crochet is later, when I started watching YouTube channels. That's when I understood, oh, so what I've been doing is called single crochet, what I've been doing is called double crochet. That's basically how I got to know what is what. Yeah.
Right. And then how did you graduate from that? And I don't even know if graduate is the right word for it, but how did you transition to knitting?
So okay, I actually didn't interact with knitting for some time early on, when I started crocheting or interacting with yarn in general. But then when I was in was it 20, I was in second year of my school of study, that was 2016. uh, a friend of a friend realized that I actually love yarn design, and I enjoy it. So there's a time she bought me a present, and this present was a set of knitting needles, bamboo knitting needles, and a bamboo hook. So I was like, I have knitting needles here. Why shouldn't I use them? And I had seen knitting needles before, but I wasn't just interested because I hadn't yet experienced it.
Right.
So since I owned my own set, I decided, let me try this out. So from YouTube, I just checked videos, how to purl and how to knit, and that's just how I started knitting. Yes.
Right. And then when you learn how to knit, did you find it more difficult than crocheting? Was it like more awkward for you because it's two needles versus a hook?
At first it was like, at first, just casting on the loops on the needle was just a headache for me. But I'm such a curious person, and you know, I don't like accepting failure. I cannot accept failure. So I'd watch videos and I'd see people doing it so quick. Even my mom used to do it so quick. And I was like, if they can do it that quick, I can also do it. So I just practice daily. I used to ensure that I knit at least every day. Like I keep on practicing and practicing.
Right.
Then with the time, I realized that I'm getting faster and I'm beginning to enjoy it. So it was just all about a matter of time. Yeah.
No, because when I watch you knit, you actually like very organic. You like very easy with your movement. It doesn't seem like you concentrating on it. It just like you like talk and suddenly like something happening, you know?
Oh yeah, I think
Um, let's talk a little bit about your studies. So you're studying something that has nothing to do with yarn.
yes. Yeah. So I'm an architecture student. I'm studying architecture. I'm in JQuat. In our country we have five universities that offer this course. So I'm in one of them, JQuat. It's called JQuat. So I'm in my final year actually at the moment, and the course in our country runs for 6 years. So I've been in school for 6 years. So it's not related directly to yarn, but it has everything to do with design,
Right.
because architecture deals with design of buildings, but I deal with design of garments and house accessories and all that. So the fact that I started doing crochet, and I started knitting and crocheting seriously when I started my course, they kind of grew together, and each of them used to, substitute the other. Kind of, they were like partners, because I remember when I was in first year, we were given a project to do on a kids' playground, and I actually used the yarn to do what is it called? To do something for kids to play with the yarn. I literally crocheted something and I pasted it with glue and all those things. So I feel like they relate in some way, but the fabrics are just different, but they all like hold the same thing and they help each other in, moving forward. Yeah.
Right. Do you ever get inspired, like you see some building and you're like, oh my God, I should turn it into a skirt?
Okay, so far not yet. Not yet, but mainly my inspiration comes from the concepts that we learn in architecture. For example, minimalism, deconstruction, and all those kind of things. So I find myself applying most of these concepts in my crochet and knitted pieces, because you'll find that when maybe if I'm knitting, I will always do one pattern, the same pattern. Like it's either I will use one pattern and maybe use multiple colors, or I'll use multiple colors and one pattern. Like I always minimize on one thing. Yeah, so I think the concepts are what are involved in, are borrowed from architecture. Yes.
Right. And how do you manage? I mean, I'm sure it's very demanding to be a full-time student and you're running a full-time business basically, because the amount of things that you produce is just mind-boggling. Like I see you every time, like every week there is something new popping up on your Instagram. And I was like, when does this girl do that? How do you manage to balance it all?
Okay, so I love saying that yarn design is my lifestyle rather than something on the side, something separate that I do. It's just like, okay, I don't want, I want to equate it to eating. For me, it's like eating, like you have to eat, So for me, knitting and crochet is just like a necessity, like it's part of my life. So basically, it's usually it comes in when I'm unwinding, when I've been maybe studying the whole day and I need some rest. My resting is knitting. So my friends laugh at me because I usually tell them I'm resting, I'm chilling as I'm knitting and watching a movie, and they're like, that is not resting. That is not resting. So basically, I've done it so much that it has become part of me, such that I don't see it as another job or something else. I see it as just something that I enjoy doing.
Right.
And what helps me also is planning. For example, if I have clients who need something, I will really plan them with my academics in play. So I'll say, for example, if I have a project this week and I know it will take me a certain amount of time, if a client wants to make an order, I'll tell them, I will start your work, your project next week. So that means this week I'll ensure I've finished my classwork, because I know next week I'll have to start on a client's job. So it's just, knowing your schedule and telling your clients the truth about your schedule, and yeah, working around that.
I must tell you, so yesterday I was stalking your YouTube channel, and I'll put the link down below for your YouTube channel. And one of the things I found like absolutely fascinating is that you had this story time where you were talking about like giving tips on like your advice to people how to celebrate the small victories. And I want to touch base on that a little, but also how to say no. And I find it like so incredible, because you are so young and you like, you're doing so many things, and yet like the wisdom of it that you learn through your journey is just like totally mind-boggling to me. Do you find it very difficult to say no? Do you find it difficult to turn down a client if you feel like the price is not right, or if you feel like you're too busy with your studies? Like, do you ever find like you agreeing to something and you know in your heart you shouldn't? Like, how did you come up to that wisdom of yours?
Okay, so actually it has been a growth process, because when I began, when I was younger, a little bit younger, I'd feel guilty telling someone no. And yeah, so I'd say give a lot of yeses and end up failing on my end, because either my studies would be compromised, or I would get tired. I'll have to pull all-nighters in classwork and also in, crochet, because I have deadlines. And, it reached a point where I was like, no, like this is not how it's supposed to be. Like these are two things that I love doing, I enjoy doing. So I shouldn't feel like I'm struggling. So I just decided, actually, it was difficult at first because some people didn't take it right. Maybe they think you're just bossy and you just, you feel you're better than everyone and all those things. But in my head, I knew that if I am not okay mentally, physically, and I'm not okay, both of these sides will suffer. Like I won't produce quality pieces for my clients and all. So I just decided to call my own shots. And I enjoy running my own business, because you call the shots and you're the one who decides, okay, I don't have to take this project now, because of ABC and D, and I will take it later. If the client can wait, well and good. If they can't wait, I'll give them options. For example, I'd refer them to someone else I know who is doing yarn, or who is crocheting or knitting. And if they're up to that, I do that. If they are able to wait, well and good. If they are not able to wait, I just tell them, then I guess it wasn't meant to be. I hope we'll work
Next
together
time.
next time. Yes.
And talking about your business, do you remember your very first transaction? Like, how did that happen? How do you go from just sitting home and crocheting for yourself to this first order, to thinking, you know what, let me make some money, let me hustle a little bit, let me turn it into a business?
Okay, I remember it like it was yesterday. So I remember I was in first year. I was in the hostels just chilling, and in first year you don't have much work because you're just starting. So I was just sitting and I had one ball of yarn, a white ball of yarn, and I decided to make a beanie, a Marvin. Yeah. So I made it and I took photos of it and then posted it on my WhatsApp status. Then a classmate of mine texted me and said, I want that beanie. I want that beanie. Then I was like, okay, come for it at only X and X amount. And then she was like, okay, sure, I'm coming for it. Then she came, paid me the money, and took the hat. And I was like, wow, this is interesting. And at that time, being in school and also not being the only child, your parent is paying fees and all the tuition fees and all those things. So I had to think about other ways of actually, earning extra pocket money. So I just thought like this is actually a nice way to earn extra pocket money because I enjoy doing it.
Right.
So that is how it started. That was my first business transaction. And yeah.
How did you decide on like what amount to ask? How did you calculate that?
Basically, the first transaction and how I priced it, I just looked at the amount I paid for the ball of yarn and multiplied it by 3. That's how I got to, I asked the client for that amount and she was willing to pay. But thinking back, I'm really realizing that there are a lot of things that I hadn't looked at, because at the moment I can't charge that because it was too little. But as a beginner and as a young person who knows nothing about business, knows nothing about how you need to package your stuff, how you need to cater for delivery and all those things, I wasn't able to put all those things into consideration. But now I have these things in mind whenever I'm charging someone, because there's also the time you take to make whatever you're making. That's why you can't charge the same amount for a beanie and a sweater, or the same amount a sweater and a blanket. Even the pattern matters nowadays. Like the tougher pattern is more expensive than the more simple pattern. So yeah.
Right. And do you design your own patterns, or do you use other people's patterns?
Okay, basically, I use the basic patterns that the basic stitches that everyone knows. Then I just come up with my own color arrangement, my own pattern arrangement, and all those things. But the stitches that I use are just basically general knowledge: the single crochet, the double crochet,
Right.
yeah.
And tell me a little bit about your last collection so you have this bow collection. How did you come up with that? Like, what was the inspiration behind it? How did you pick up those colors?
Okay, so it was about January. I think it was January when I made the first piece. So I have a friend of mine. She's actually um my friend's mom. So she contacted me and she was like, I've seen something you've posted on your status and I want a sweater like that, exact sweater like that. So it was a piece of multicolored sweater from Pinterest.
Mm-hmm.
And she liked it. So I told her, okay, sure, I can actually do this, but I'll have to put a twist of my own. So I went to the yarn shop and I got the colors, but I did a pastel shade of colors. And then I arranged the colors, 12 colors, and then I did that sweater for her. That was bow number 1. It was a client sweater. So after I did bow number 1, I was like, wow, this color combination came out so well. It is so playful and fun. And I was doing that for an older, not an older lady. She's not old. I don't want her to watch this and find out I called her older. But it was meant for just a middle-aged lady. So I decided to come up with a more playful one for younger because I had done a sketch before of the design I wanted it to look like, but it actually came out totally different from the design I had sketched. And that's the beauty of yarn design anyway. You actually can make changes and move on. Then bow number 3 was just the same story as bow number 2, like same color pattern and all, but just design as I go. It was also a knitted pattern, but I mixed. The neck is crocheted, but the body is knitted. So
interesting.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with the idea for that photo shoot? Because those pictures are like absolutely epic.
Oh, wow. My brother should hear this. Yeah, so for photo shoots, I actually just come up with concepts, like concepts for photo shoots. So I like using what I have available for photo shoots. I don't like going out of my way, hiring lights and all those things, because I feel like whatever we have around us in nature is already beautiful enough. So you just need to think outside the box and, to bring out its beauty. So just next to our home here, there's a grass field. It's very wide. It has a lot of grass. And I told my brother, let's go do a photo shoot there. I think we'll have a very nice, scenic environment. And then I told him, let me throw on my basket, because it has the same color theme as the grass. So it will look like, it's a nice theme and all. So we went there, and I love modeling. So taking photos is just my thing. So I can take photos the whole day. So we just went there and did some poses and all those things. Sometimes he directed me and told me, oh, try do this, try put the basket here, there, nini. And that is how the photos came out.
Well, I have a question about your brother, because he is also your model in some of your, he modeling some of your scarves, right? I've seen him modeling some of your knitwear. And how old was he when he first got into photography, and how did you decide to incorporate him into your business and use him for your photo shoots?
Okay, so basically he started photography I think in 2016, because he's an artist. He studied art and design, fine art. So he's an artist, and for artists, I think it's a requirement for them to learn a little bit of photography, because it's good for capturing maybe scenes that you want to paint or draw. So when he bought a camera, he started doing the, photography and all, and he's big on street photography and landscape. So mostly he takes photos of the things he wants to paint. So I was like, there's no need of hiring someone else to take my photos, and I have a brother who has a camera. That is saving costs. Right. So I just decided, why not let him be the one to do my photo shoots.
No, but he also has amazing eye for photography, like the way he takes pictures, the light of it, like it really makes Savannah basically look amazing. Like you can feel the wind going through the grass, you can feel like the sun shining. He's really good. He's very, we'll put the link to his site as well, so if people want to check him out.
Yeah.
Does he ever hustle you for some scarf or some hat or something like?
he's actually been he's been telling me, where's my scarf, so actually, that thing of, you may be an architect, you have designed like 100 buildings, but you've not designed yours. I think that's our situation here, because like I'm always here with him, but I've never made him. I've made him hats, but I've not made him something recently. So I'm going to make him something soon. But he's been
that orange and cream scarf that he is wearing looks absolutely spectacular on him. So those colors really nice.
Okay, you see the guy who has modeled the orange and cream scarf? That's actually not my
Oh, it's
brother.
okay. Sorry.
It's okay. My
Well,
brother is back at the beginning of my feeds. He's not really been modeling since he's the one who has been taking my photos,
pictures, right?
but he I'm planning to put him
You
soon so that
should, you should. He would be
I
like so
I'll
good at this.
totally will.
Why not? Like he can just set up the camera and you can click on the one button.
I can actually take the photos for him, but I'm sure they won't come out as nice as his.
And you know what other, like, I feel like the first time I saw you when I had like got to follow was the pictures you took between two walls. There was like this narrow corridor of sorts, and you were just in some, I don't even remember which one it was, but there's like a few of them on your Instagram. And it was just like the most amazing picture. And I was like, okay, I have to see more of this girl, like what else she has. So he's really fundamental in, you know, helping to bring attention to your craft.
Yeah.
Um, how did you start marketing yourself? So after that first beanie sale, you decided to like use it more for pocket money and to like make some extra income to help your mom out, to take some burden off of her. How did you go from there to like being everywhere now? Like you on Pinterest, you on TikTok, you on Instagram, you on Facebook, you on YouTube, you like, you know, everywhere you can go, you like there. What was the steps? Like how did you start and how did you progress?
Okay, basically I just started with telling the guys in my class that I actually do this and this and this. So I started by telling guys verbally that I'm actually doing crochet pieces and all. So after a while, after I had done several pieces, I decided to ensure that I take photos of them before I deliver them.
Right.
And then I was like, okay, Instagram is the best place to actually market this. So I opened a page for specifically my work, and I started posting my work there. So I would I would take photos of the pieces before I make deliveries and post them there, and just do nice catchy captions to tell people that they are made with love, because they are really made with love.
Right.
And yeah, that is how I actually just started marketing my stuff. And then I spread it to Facebook, and then I spread it to Pinterest, and then I came to TikTok and YouTube lately, just like last year. Yeah, so that's how I got into spreading my work everywhere.
And let me ask you about the last year, because I know it must have been tough because of COVID. And I've heard somewhere where you like interviewed with somebody and you said that you got stuck home accidentally for a few months, went to visit and got stuck there. So how did COVID treat you in sense of your artistic growth?
Wow, it was a blessing in disguise. I actually didn't know I was able to actually design in that way, because I had gone home. We had gone home for my auntie's funeral. We were going to bury her, and just after the burial, the lockdown happened. So in our country, they said you can't travel, you stay where you are, you can't come back to the city and all that. So I was like, this will just last for a few weeks. But weeks started becoming months and all. So I decided to just, put my head into crochet. And the first thing that I thought of was, okay, let me get out of my comfort zone, because I was used to making scarves, beanie, mostly winter wears.
Mhm.
Then, surprisingly, the yarn that was available at home or in the shops that are around home was the very thin yarn, the thinnest type of yarn that is available. And I wasn't really used to using that because that would mean thinner hook or a thinner knitting needle. And I used to just find it tormenting to use very small hooks and very, because I have an eye problem and I don't like glasses. So I'll have to like squint and all that. But I told myself, okay, I can actually do something else that doesn't require very small stitches. So I bought a pack of like that yarn. They were like 20 pieces inside, and then I started crocheting, and that's when I did my yellow series. There's a series of yellow stuff, like there was the romantic two-piece, the princess. So I was just using the yellow yarn to just make stuff, and all that I was able to do during COVID because there was nothing else to do apart from an online class here and there. But basically, I had the whole day to crochet. So I really utilized that. And that's when I came up with now these ideas of, I can actually really make an outfit that can be worn, a dress that can actually be worn by someone. So yeah, that's how COVID treated me. And I'm so grateful because it got me to just settle down and, think about the direction I'd like to take in terms of Ogfra Knits. And yeah, it was a blessing in disguise.
Well, I find it interesting, and I know that when you join the Knitters Gonna Knit on Facebook, the first post you posted, somebody asked the question that, like, I guess was on everybody's mind: is there even winter in Kenya, and is there a time when people wear something like a winter wear, a hat or a scarf or something like that? Is there winter in Kenya?
we don't really call it winter. Our seasons are not as defined as the Western country seasons, because your Western country seasons are very defined and you can literally see them. But for us, we just have the warm season and the hot warm season and the cold season. Like now, it is very cold. Like you can't go out dressed like I am right now because it's very cold. So, but I think our cold is not as much as yours, but the fact that we are along the equator and we are so used to the heat and we are so used to having sunshine all through the day, when little cold comes, it is so cold to us. Yeah.
Right. Is there culture of knitting and crocheting in Kenya? Like, is that a developed craft, or are you one of the few who does it?
Okay. When I started, I think we were not connected as knitters in Kenya. Like maybe there are people who are knitting at that time, but we didn't know each other. So we were not able to tell that, oh, actually there's someone else who is knitting, there's someone else who is knitting. But now I've come to realize, like online social media and all, that actually there are many Kenyan knitters who are around and they're just awesome. They do awesome work. So there's actually there's actually an organization, it's a group that is called Crochet Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually a group that I came to find out later that exists. So I think it's a group of people, women and all these people who crochet. They make blankets and give it to the homeless people and all those things.
So I noticed you also like told me about your cousin who does like you were wearing this beautiful coat one time on Instagram, and I asked you about that. So there is like all the culture of like African prints with the beautiful like big flowers and leaves and all these things, right?
Yeah. So African print is big in Africa. Yeah, it's just mainly most of these patterns, fabrics originate from western part of Africa, like Nigeria, Ghana, Congo, and all the countries in the western side. So most of us just buy them from these countries who produce them. But I'm sure even in Kenya, there are some people who produce their own fabrics and do designs and all. So I personally love African print fabric because I'm not big on, makeup and jewelry. Like literally, I don't do jewelry, I don't do makeup, I don't do all. But when it comes to what I wear, oh,
Right.
I just have to, I have to put my all in it. So I love African print because it's colorful, it's playful, and it just expresses who you are. According to me, it expresses who I am. So yeah, it's actually a big business in our country. A lot of designers are coming up and they are majoring on African print fabrics, coming up with new designs, but with the fabrics that are available in our continent. I think it's just another way of also celebrating the culture, celebrating the origins of our culture and our clothes and all those things. Yeah.
Right. Actually, talking of celebrating, I want to come back to your YouTube channel. And one of the things you said there, that we need to celebrate small success. And I found it so inspirational. Like, I found it really something I never thought about consciously. And I was actually so right, because we often concentrate on like the big picture. We're saying, it's like, I should have done this, I should have done that. And we skip the little positive things in our life that's happening. And sometimes it's like this whole idea of perfectionism and the idea of like how I could have been better and I could have done better and I should have done this and that before I do this or that, stopping us from trying stuff and stopping the success from happening. And
Yeah.
I admired you in the fact that you just jumped into that business and like, I'll figure it out as I go. Let me start first and then I'll think and like balance it later. And I figure out the pricing and how and the schedule and the whole thing as I go. How do you like, what do you see as your successes, your small successes? What are you trying to concentrate on? What are these small successes to you?
Hey, to me, like this interview is a small success this week. Yeah, like the small successes that I always celebrate is every positive comment that someone sends and says, wow, especially in the group we are in, KGK, wow. Every comment is like a celebration for me because, someone has seen the work you've put into what you've posted. Someone has seen the time. Someone has acknowledged the fact that you've actually produced this by hand, and they appreciate that and they value that. And other small wins are just being able to, sell something, make an order, sell something, or complete an order smoothly, without any maybe disagreements with the client and stuff like that. So I usually celebrate all that. And I always celebrate completion of a new design. I like when it's done and it's hanging on a hanger there, I'm just like, wow.
But I feel like you can see that through your pictures, because you don't post one picture, you don't do one post, you'll do like a week celebration of that one sweater in like all different poses and whatever. It's like, I love that, because when you look at your Instagram page, it's like a poster of the celebration for each design. It's not just like sneak peek,
Yeah.
Do you find like with social media that you find inspirations from like other countries, other people, like you find some ideas from what you see online, like more so than when you were just knitting by yourself?
Yeah, totally. Like a lot of inspiration also comes from online because I've realized that actually yarn design and fiber art and all these things, it always changes. So social media has played a huge role on my growth personally, because I get to see how wide the fiber and yarn design space is. Like, everyone has a different way of doing stuff. Like, the Indians do it differently, the Philippines do it differently, the speeds are different, patterns are different. So it's just, it's the dictionary. It's a dictionary where you just get in and learn new things and learn new words in form of patterns and colors and all those things. So it has greatly affected my growth positively.
What's the plan for, since you're so good at planning, right? You're planning things. What's your vision? What's your plan for Ogfra design? Where do you see you want to take it?
Like, as I answered, there's a comment that was put on one of my, what is it called, one of my posts on Knitters Gonna Knit, and someone mentioned that you look like you can be on a page of a magazine or something. Then I was like, amen to that. Because that is actually the plan, like to have something like Vogue yarns or something like that, like to be a name that represents growth, a name that represents risk taking, a name that represents healthy hobbies like knitting, and also yarn therapy and all these things. Because for me, yarn is more than just, selling stuff and all these things. It has the potential to actually save a lot of people, because it helps in, its therapeutic nature. It just calms you down when you knit and all. So as much as I'd want Ogfra Knits to become a big name like Gucci and Louis Vuitton and all those other big names, I'd also want it to represent love, originality, and also, putting your heart into something. Because I think you have to be a knitter or a crocheter to understand the connection that knitters and crocheters have with the pieces they work on. Even if it's a client's piece, the day of delivery, you want to like kiss it goodbye and say, oh, but it's because of the amount of time, the amount of emotion and investment they have put into this specific piece. So I'd want Ogfra Knits to be able to show the world that specific emotion. I don't know how we are going to do it, but that is my goal and vision, that one day one young girl will look at Ogfra Knits and say, I really want to do that because she looks happy. She looks peaceful. She looks, confident. She look, I want Ogfra Knits to, do that to people around the world.
I'm sure that's going to happen. Well, I'll do what I can to send it to everybody I know. So maybe somebody's going to pay attention because they should.
Thank you so much. Thank you.